devotional listeners. Tonight we meet another character from the Ramayana. Through her, we learn many lessons. Her name is Shabari. Shabari was born in a hunter's family. Her father was a hunter. She belonged to the Nishad tribal family. When she was about to be married, she saw thousands of sheep and goats and other such animals being brought by her father. It was his intention to slaughter them in honor of her marriage ceremony. Shabari was a very gentle person, and her heart was full of compassion for these creatures who were helpless. She could not bear the thought of all these creatures dying just because she was getting married. And so she stole away in the middle of the night, and she ran away from home, and she actually renounced the world. She went off in the forest, and she traveled for many days. Finally, she came upon the ashram of a great sage. His name was Matang Rishi, the sage Matang. Shabari stayed in Matang Rishi's ashram. She accepted him as her guru, and she served her guru very well. Many years passed in this way. Then her guru was about to give up his life. She said, "Guruji, I have tried to do my best to serve you, and now you are leaving for your abode. I too wish to go to the same abode of peace that you are going to." Matang Rishi said, "Shabari, I am very happy with your devotion, and due to the service that you have rendered to me selflessly, you will have the darshan of Bhagwan Shri Ram. He will come to this ashram. You will have his darshan." So saying, Matang Rishi took Mahasamadhi. He left his body willingly. For saints give up their bodies willingly. Shabari stayed on in the Guru's ashram, and every single day she waited for Bhagwan Shri Ram. Perhaps today he will come. Perhaps today he will come. He could come any day. Guruji did not say when he would be coming. So every day she prepared her modest little dwelling. She cleaned it. She decorated it with flowers and twigs and so on, whatever she had at her disposal. And every day she picked fruits and berries. She washed them carefully, and she tasted them. She tasted each one of them. If the berry or the fruit was sour, she would discard it. She would throw it away. If it was sweet, she would put it aside for Bhagwan Shri Ram. Never did it occur to her that she should not be doing this. Her heart was so full of love for Bhagwan Shri Ram that she thought, I do not want him to eat sour fruits. He should eat the best fruits. And the only way that she could ensure that this fruit was sweet was to taste it for herself. That was the only way. Many years passed. Shabari was now an old woman. And Bhagwan Ram and Lakshman came to the ashram. They were searching for Mother Sita. Now this is before the time, before they met with Hanuman and Sugriv. Now they're about to meet with Hanuman and Sugriv. So just to put this story into context. The ashram of Matang Rishi was situated in the foothills of Rishyamukh mountain, where Sugriv and Hanuman and other ministers were hiding. So now Ram and Lakshman appeared, and Shabari was beside herself with joy. Sham Gaur Sundar Do Bhai. She saw her dark-complexioned Lord, Bhagwan Shri Ram, and she saw his brother, the fair-complexioned Lakshman. And Shabari washed Bhagwan Sri Ram's lotus feet, she washed Lakshman's lotus feet, and she seated them with great honor. And then she presented to Bhagwan Sri Ram the tasted fruits, which were the sweetest fruits. Bhagwan Ram did not hesitate in the least. He took the fruit, he ate it, and then he took another one and another one. And Lakshmanji, sitting nearby, sitting at Bhagwan Ram's lotus feet, is horrified. How is it that Bhagwan Sri Ram, my Lord, is eating tasted fruits? And Lakshman couldn't help himself. He said, Maharaj, but she has tasted them. Bhagwan Ram said, yes, she has tasted them, and they are very sweet. Lakshman, you should taste them too. I have never tasted anything better than these fruits. Lakshman was not willing to taste them. Bhagwan Ram kept eating those fruits. He was accepting the love that Shabri had put in those fruits. Whenever we offer food to God, whenever we offer food to Bhagwan Sri Ram or Bhagwan Sri Krishna, who are one and the same, God accepts the love that is poured into the food, and He leaves the food for us as prasadam. And the very word prasad means grace. So when we accept prasad, it's not an ordinary thing. I don't have to tell you that. We are actually tasting the grace of God. So Bhagwan Ram tasted the love with which Shabri had offered him the fruits, and he did not find any fault with her. He did not say, are you a mad woman? You have tasted these fruits, then you're giving them to me? This is an offense. Lakshmanji thought it was. Bhagwan Ram did not. Because it is his law that whatever is offered to him with love, he will accept. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyupahrit mashnami prayatatmanah. Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, I shall accept a leaf, a flower, a fruit. All right, you have none of these? Water. I will accept anything that you offer with love. He has just mentioned fruits, flowers, leaves, and water, but whatever is given to him with love, he will accept. There once lived a butcher. His name was Sadhana Kasai, Kasai meaning butcher. He wanted to offer something to the Lord, and every day he started to offer meat. And Bhagwan would accept that flesh. He would accept it because Sadhana offered it with love. Please don't get any ideas. Sadhana's love was tremendous, and he did not know that he was doing anything wrong because he was offering that flesh with love, and Bhagwan was accepting it. So Shabri was giving tasted fruits, and Bhagwan Ram was eating them. And Shabri was crying, and Bhagwan Ram was crying. Both were crying. Because it is his law that ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstathaiva bhajamyaham. Bhagavad Gita. I love the individual soul in exactly the same way, in exactly the same manner, in exactly the same proportion as the individual soul loves me. Now, Bhagwan Sri Ram asked Shabri, what do you want me to give you? She said, my Lord, I want to learn about devotion. Her heart is full of devotion, but in order to grace us, Shabri asked, my Lord, please tell me how I can become your devotee. Bhagwan Ram disclosed Navadha Bhakti to his great devotee, Shabri. And by doing so, Bhagwan Sri Ram has disclosed the ninefold devotion to all of us, the entire humanity. O Shabri, Bhagwan Sri Ram says, listen very carefully. Navdha bhakti sunahu tohi pahi savdhan sunu. Listen very carefully. Savadhana sunu. Be very alert and be very careful as I tell you about Navdha Bhakti. Once Sri Maharaj Ji mentioned to a devotee that Bhagwan Ram stayed with Shabri for only 5 minutes. That's it. I was very surprised to hear this. This devotee in question, she was leaving Mangad and she had to come back to North America and she was crying. Sri Maharaj Ji said, don't cry. Bhagwan Ram stayed with Shabri for only 5 minutes. You were here for many days. Don't cry. So it's very surprising that Bhagwan Ram stayed only for 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, he explained Navdha Bhakti. Pratham Bhagati Santan Kar Sangha Dusari Rati Mam Katha Prasanga Guru Pad Pankaj Seva Tisari Bhagati Aman Chauthi Bhagati Mam Gun Gan Kariyat Kapat Tajigan. So these are the first 4 types of devotion that Bhagwan Ram tells Shabri about. First of all, Bhagwan Ram says the very first thing, the very first step in devotion is to associate with saints. The very first thing Bhagwan Ram tells Shabri is associate with saints. He does not say worship me. He says associate with those who love me. The Ramayana says, Binu sat sang vivek na hoi, Ram kripa binu sulabh na soi. Without satsang, you cannot attain knowledge. And satsang, we use this word very frequently. I'm going to satsang. We're doing satsang here. The true meaning of the word satsang is sant plus sang. Sant ka sang, satsang. To associate with a saint, that is what satsang is. Association with a saint. So associate with the saints, O Shabri. Without associating with the saints, you will not attain any knowledge. Again, the Ramayana says, Guru binu hoi ki gyan. You think that you can attain knowledge without the help, the guidance of a guru, in other words, a saint? We are full of ignorance. We suffer from the disease of ignorance. The main ignorance is that we think ourselves to be the body. We have heard, no doubt, that we are the soul. And we can talk very nicely about the fact that we are the soul. But when it comes down to it, we have one thought in our mind, and that is, I am the body. The body is what I am. When we look at our face in the mirror, when we look at our face, we say, that is who I am. This is who I am. Many years ago, I remember when I was spending 2 years in Mangad, there was a passageway which took us from one part of the ashram to the other, from the front of the ashram to the back. And in between, there was a big, full-size mirror. Now, anybody who would be passing by would definitely check himself or herself out. How am I looking? How's my hair? How's my shirt? My sari? How is it? And everyone was a bit disturbed about it because all of a sudden now you're looking at yourself, your image, and there you are supposed to be thinking about God and Guru. And there was this big mirror. I thought it was a test from Maharaji. Big, full-size mirror. Look at yourself, think, is this me, or are you the body, or are you the soul? Well, it bothered everyone, but no one really did anything about it until, thankfully, some devotee, probably in the middle of the night when nobody saw him doing it, whoever it was, did a favor to everyone. He or she put a big picture, life-size picture of Radha and Krishna right there, right on the mirror. So now when everybody walked there, they would see Radha and Krishna, and they said, all right, this is good. Because when we look at our face in the mirror, we say, that's who I am. We identify ourselves to be the body. I am Hindu, I am an Indian, or I am an American. I am a teacher, I am a lawyer, I am an office worker. I am a grihastha, I am a vanaprasthi, I am a sannyasi, I am an ashramvasi. I'm young, I'm middle-aged, I'm old, I'm white, I'm brown, I'm black, I'm Oriental, I'm North American. All these qualifications that are qualifications of the body. We say, I am this, I am this, I am this. And the enlightened ones say, that's not who you are. You are not a Hindu. The body is Hindu. The body is white. The body is brown. The body is that of an Indian or American. You are the soul. You are the Atma. Once there was a little boy who had never spoken a word in his life. And Adi Shankaracharya heard about him, the first Jagadguru. He heard about this boy and he was intrigued. So he asked the boy's mother to bring the boy. And so the boy was presented to the great Acharya, and the great Acharya asked, son, who are you? And the little boy spoke for the very first time in his life, and the wonderful answer that he gave left the great Adi Shankaracharya absolutely speechless. For he said, Naham manushyo na cha deva yaksho na brahmana kshatriya vaishya shudra na brahmachari na grihi vanastho bhikshu na chaham nija bodha rupa. O Acharya, I am not a human, I am not a yaksh, I am not a devta, a celestial god. I am not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. I am not a celibate student, a brahmachari, nor am I a grihastha, a householder. I am not a forest dweller, a vanaprasthi, nor am I a mendicant sannyasi. O Acharya, I am none of this. I am the soul, the Atma. The Atma is what I am. What a wonderful answer. And Adi Shankaracharya was so impressed with this answer that he said to the boy's mother, this boy does not belong to the world. You send him along with me. And the mother did that. And this little boy grew up to be a great devotee of Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya named him Hastamalak. And there are Hastamalak stotrams, of which one I have just recited. By ourselves, we cannot even figure out who we are. We don't even have that knowledge. A sant, a saint, an enlightened one is absolutely necessary to tell us, first of all, who we are. How can we live a life properly if we don't even know who we are? If I don't know who I am, then I will not know who is mine. I will not know what to strive for. So what will my life be all about? As a child, I was lost in play. As a young man, I went astray. In middle age, well, you know how it is. I was saving for a rainy day. Now I am old. Oh, how difficult it is, my Lord. I plan to spend an hour or two thinking of God. Yes, I do. But my legs ache. My knees swell. So many pills, but I'm not well. Even on my good days, when I sit in bed, my mind wants to think of the world instead. People say I did well in life, had wonderful kids and a lovely wife, a nice house and a cottage on the lake. What more could you want, for goodness sake? American dream, right? What more could you want, for goodness sake? I had everything a person ever craved, but it is time, not money, that I should have saved. I amassed great wealth, but what is the use? I wasted precious time in trivial pursuits. Without the guidance of a saint, our life boils down to just this. People say, oh, you did so well in life. And the saint says, you have failed miserably in life. What are we going to answer to God? God is going to ask, what did you do in life? Oh, my Lord, I accumulated billions of dollars. All right, yes, I know. What else did you do? I put up lots of buildings. I was a successful businessman. And I got married and I had 10 kids. So I've left a large family behind. God says, yes, yes, I'm going to punish you for all these doings. You didn't do what you were sent to do. You did not recognize yourself to be the Atma. And you did not love me, the Paramatma, the soul of all souls. But my Lord, I didn't know any better. Please forgive me. No, no, no. I send my saints, I send my divine representatives to earth, and you were supposed to gain knowledge from them. Uttishtat jagrat prapya varan nibodhat, say the Vedas. Awaken, O humans. Wake up. Awaken, arise. And seek the holy association of saints so that you may learn about God from them. The eternal Vedas are telling us. And whatever is in the eternal Vedas is in the Ramayana. The difference is in the language. The Vedas are in Sanskrit, the Ramayana is in Hindi. That's the only difference. The knowledge of the Ramayana is as lofty, the teachings are as lofty, as great, and as noble as the teachings of the Vedas. So Bhagwan Sri Ram is saying in the Ramayana what he has told us in the Vedas and the Purans already. Prathama bhagati santan kar sanga. Associate with the saints so that you may attain true knowledge. Secondly, he says, Dusari rati mam katha prasanga. The second step of devotion is that you must become extremely fond of hearing God's glories. You should feel like going to where satsang is. I want to go to satsang. How wonderful that there is satsang going on in the hall. I want to get up in the morning. So I'll go to bed at night at the right time so that I may be fresh in the morning, so that I may come over here to do satsang. How lucky I am. How lucky I am to be an ashramvasi. Satsang is going on in the morning, satsang is going on in the evening. How blessed I am. How many people in the world get this kind of privilege? I am fond of hearing God's glories. So the second step is to become fond of hearing anything about God. We must become greedy to hear about God. Where there is talk about God, I want to be there. I want that greed. Greed is not bad. In the Ramayana it is said, a devotee says, Sita Ram charan rati more anudin badhai anugrah tore. O Sita and Ram, may my love for you increase day by day. That's greed, isn't it? The devotee is greedy to love God more and more and more. Someone who thinks himself to be the body is very excited about going to the mall, going to the casino, going to the restaurants, going all over the world, going on a cruise. That is what he enjoys doing. But someone who is interested in God, someone who has begun to understand himself to be the soul is absolutely, he becomes greedy for satsang. At the end of 2 hours, he says, is that it? Time just flew by. I didn't even notice 2 hours. While another fellow is thinking, oh God, that felt like 5 hours. But so many people, wonderful people sitting here say, this time just flew by, didn't even notice it. 2 hours is really nothing. An hour and a half is nothing. Well, for that matter, 12 hours is nothing. We do 12 hours of satsang, Hare Ram Sankirtan, 24 hours of Hare Ram Sankirtan is done here. And devotees are saying, 24 hours just flew by. Didn't even notice. 24 hours flew by. And another is saying, are you crazy? Are you mad? 24 hours? You took the name of God? You didn't feel sleepy? You didn't get bored? I mean, really, that's overdoing it, don't you think? Some people say, don't overdo it. But nobody ever says, you shop too much, don't overdo it. You go out to restaurants and casinos and you go out on go to so many parties, you're overdoing it. No. You go to as many parties and social gatherings as you want. But if someone starts going to satsang, members of the family, first of all, they get concerned. Don't overdo it. Are you going crazy? Are you Mirabai or something? You're not a saint. Once one of the devotees started wearing this little patti, we call it, little scarf, and it comes from Sri Maharajji's dhotis, and these are prasadis, and she had a sore throat, so she started wearing that. And her family member said, my goodness, you're taking sannyas or what? She said, why do you think I'm taking sannyas? Well, this is very suspicious color. You're wearing this. Don't overdo it. You wear something with green color or red color or blue color. Don't wear this color. So, but someone who is now beginning to understand, we haven't really understood it properly, but someone who is just beginning to understand himself to be the soul, he becomes greedy for hearing the glory of God. And Bhagwan Ram says, this is the second step of devotion. Mam dusari rati mam katha prasanga. Rati means love, mam is mine, katha means stories, and it means also lectures and knowledge. So become fond of hearing my glories and my knowledge and my divine stories, my pastimes. And the very first step leading to our spiritual progress is listening. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasan. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. First we listen, and then we go over what we have heard. And then thirdly, the last step we take is that of taking a decision. We make up our mind. This is what I have to do in life. Bhagwan Ram says, become fond of hearing my glories and my knowledge. Shukdev Paramhans had such great love for hearing Sri Radharani's name that the moment he would utter the name Radha, or the moment he would hear it, he would go into a trance, a meditational trance, for 6 entire months. For 6 months he was gone. All he had to do was to just hear the name Radha. Shri Radha Nam Matrena Murcha Shan Masiki Bhavet. Such great love. We think to ourselves, I hear the name Radha, I am affected, no doubt, but not like that. And I'm affected sometimes, and sometimes while I'm hearing it, I feel drowsy. I fall asleep. So what's going on? To Shukdev Paramhans, the name of Radha is so dear that he is entering a state of samadhi. And the name of Radha is dear to us also, but sometimes we go into a different kind of samadhi when we hear it. We go into samadhi that is induced by very strong sleep. So what is going on? Why is the name of Radha, why does the name Radha not attract us as much as it attracts Shukdev? Gauranga Mahaprabhu explains. He says, the more you love Radha, the more you will find, the sweeter you will find her name. For that matter, the more you love Bhagwan Shri Ram, the sweeter the name Ram will be. Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj tells us about a devotee who passed away many years ago. Shri Maharaj Ji says she was such a great devotee that she would only chant Hare Ram Sankirtan. That is all she chanted. And she would be so happy chanting it all the time because she had become so fond of hearing that name. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So the more we are fond of the name of God, the more it will attract us, the more sweetness we will get from it. Amaya madhurya nit nava nava hoy. Gauranga Mahaprabhu says, my sweetness is ever increasing. But we will taste the sweetness only according to the level of our love for God. So Bhagwan Sri Ram is saying, O Shabri, the second devotion is that you should become fond, extremely fond of hearing my names, my glories, my pastimes, and my knowledge. What is the third step? Let's find out after we chant for 5 minutes, just to refresh our minds. गुरुपद पंकज सेवा तीसरी भगति aman. Bhagwan Sri Ram says, O Shabri, the third step in devotion is to be free of pride and to worship the lotus feet of the Guru. Shabri has done this for many years. She has been a faithful servant of her Guru. Bhagwan Sri Ram himself has served his Guru, Vashisht. Ram and Lakshman also served Vishwamitra, who had come to Raja Dashrath to seek the help of Ram and Lakshman. Ram and Lakshman had gone off with Vishwamitra, and every night they would serve the lotus feet of sage Vishwamitra. They would bow down to his lotus feet. They would place their head at the lotus feet of Vishwamitra. And he is God himself, but Bhagwan Ram is establishing a principle for all worldly people, for all of us to follow, and that is that you must worship and serve the lotus feet of your Guru. Bhagwan Ram accepted a Guru. Guru griha gaye padhan raghurai, alp kal vidya sab pai. Bhagwan Ram learned in very short period of time everything that was to be learned from his Guru. Bhagwan Ram himself is saying, O Shabri, it is essential for a devotee to serve the lotus feet of his Guru. Bhagwan Ram is not saying, serve my lotus feet. He's saying, serve the lotus feet of the Guru. Guru binu bhavanidhi tarai na koi, jo viranchi sankar sam hoi. No matter how great you may be, you may be as great as Brahma and Shankar, but Bhagwan Ram says, you cannot attain liberation from Maya without the Guru. So serve the Guru. He says this in the Gita. He says this in the Vedas. He says this in the Purans. Same thing. Serve the Guru. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Bhagavad Gita. O Arjun, approach the Guru with a fully surrendered mind, first thing. Secondly, ask him questions to dispel your doubts and to attain a clarity of mind. And thirdly, Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, O Arjun, serve the Guru in every possible way. But what is seva? What is the biggest seva? In answer to this question, the Ramayana says, Agya samnasu sahib seva. Obeying the instruction of the Guru is the biggest form of service. We become confused sometimes. Am I serving my Guru? I don't know if I am. How can we tell? Tulsidas Ji says that's very easy. You just follow the instruction of your Guru. What does your Guru tell you to do? Do that. Don't employ your intellect. Just do as he tells you. And you will have served him. That's it. So now it's easy. We don't have to speculate, is this seva? Is this seva? Whatever the Guru says, just go ahead and do it. Follow the instruction of the Guru. Agya sam nasu sahib seva. There is no service greater than following the instruction of the Guru. And this is what Bhagwan Sri Ram did himself. He followed the instruction of his Guru. All life long, he worshipped his Guru. Even though he was God himself, even though he was a king, but he always bowed to his Guru's lotus feet, and this is what he is saying. Fourthly, so now the first bhakti is Pratham Bhagati Santan Kar Sanga. Second one is Dusari Rati Mam Katha Prasanga. Guru Pad Pankaj Seva. Tisari Bhagati Aman. Chauthi Bhagati Mam Gun Gan Kariye Kapat Tajigan. The fourth devotion, O Shabri, is that a devotee, an aspiring devotee, should give up all guile and all deception from his heart, and he should chant my glories. Mama Gunagan. He should chant the songs, sing the songs of my glories. We aspiring devotees become sidetracked. We must sing the glories of God with a guileless heart. Because Bhagwan Sri Ram says, Nirmal man jan so mohi pava, mohi kapat chal chhidr na bhava. I do not like deception, he says. I don't want any cleverness. I just want a pure heart. That's what I like, and that's what I will accept. I will accept nothing less than that. And we find that our heart is full of deception. We are not pure-hearted, and Bhagwan Ram is saying the fourth devotion is to chant my names and my glories without any deception in the heart. We think to ourselves, well, if I am a deceptive sort of a person, well, I've got a mind like that. What can I do? My mind is like this. But when we were small, we were very innocent. We were guileless. As children, we were very innocent. We were very pure-hearted. We didn't know how to tell lies. A child's parents wish that sometimes a child would tell a lie, and the child blurts out the truth. This couple had a child, a little boy, and the couple had invited their friends. There were many people at the dinner table, and the child was asked to say grace. You say the grace. Right? The child says, "Mommy, I don't know what to say." And his mother said, "Well, you've heard me. Whatever you heard me say, you go ahead and say it." Bad idea. The child says, "Oh Lord, why did I have to invite all these people?" So parents wish that children would not tell the truth at all times. But a child doesn't know how to tell a lie. What can the child do? Sri Maharaji delights in telling the story of a little child who's coached by his mother. "Son, I'm going off to take some rest." And the auntie from next door, she comes every afternoon, and whether I want to or not, she wants to have a conversation with me. "So son, tell her, Auntie, my mummy's not home." So anyway, the neighbor comes over, and the child opens the door, and she asks, "Beta, where's your mother?" "Well, mommy, my auntie, my mummy is sleeping inside, but she told me to tell you that she's not in." And the mother hears this, and she's very embarrassed, and she ends up chastising the child. "Why did you have to say that I was inside?" And the child doesn't understand why mummy is so angry with him, because wasn't she inside? It's a truth. He is told the truth, and he doesn't know what telling lies means. So there was a time when we were pure-hearted, when we were guileless. We didn't know deception. We didn't know how to deceive anyone. We would tell the truth. It can be done. Bhagwan Sri Ram says, "Become like a child. Become like a child and come to me." As Sri Maharaji says, don't put on any makeup, just go as you are to God. Just don't do any banavat, any 420, no deception, nothing. Just let it all go. Just throw it all away and just go very innocently like a child to God, and He'll accept you. Bhagwan Ram says, "Become guileless and chant songs of my glories and my pastimes." But this topic will be covered later on, because there is a little bit of repetition in this Navadha Bhakti. Whenever there is an important point that God wishes to tell us about, He repeats Himself. In literature, this is called a big mistake. This is a lack on the part of the author or the poet. But in spirituality, this is a strength. And as Sri Maharaji puts it, our scriptures are so lengthy. There are so many of them. There are hundreds of thousands of pages, and your whole life will be spent on just turning the pages. There's that much knowledge. But if you take away the repetition, then you're left with a little bit. There's a lot of repetition in the scriptures because there are a lot of important points that we need to hear about and we need to read about. And so even in the ninefold devotion that Bhagwan Ram has told Shabri about, there is some repetition. So the first 4 points in devotion have been talked about briefly, and I will take up tomorrow, where I'm leaving off tonight. बोलिए राजा रामचंद्र की